Okay, so this time I'm really excited because I get to chat to someone and introduce you to someone that I've known for many, many years. And this is someone who, in my opinion, excels in her field. She sometimes doesn't realise how much she does excel. And she's built something up from scratch. I'm now working with some of the biggest brands right across the country, based here in Liverpool. And it's all about marketing. And what I love about marketing is, right now more than ever, it's so accessible. It's pretty much at your fingertips. It is free if you get it right and if you know how to do it. So I'm with Louise Kemp. Louise has got a great story which we're going to delve into. We're going to get loads of tips and loads of advice for you in terms of marketing your business, whatever business that might be. It might be a 5-star hotel. It might be that you're a plumber and you need to get the word out there. Whatever it is, you need marketing. So Louise Kemp, co-founder of 19 Agency. How are you?
I'm good, really good.
Tell us what 19 Agency is, Lou. What do you do? What's your day-to-day? What's the kind of ethos of your business?
So we are a full-service hospitality marketing agency. So we do everything from a launch for a new venue to writing a strategy to email marketing comms to some PR, social media management, just a broad spectrum really of what a hotel, bar or restaurant would need from their marketing activity.
Why solely hospitality? I presume hospitality is a really exciting sector to do this in, but why did you choose? What led you to hospitality?
It's what I've always known and it's what I've always done. I started my career as an air hostess for 10 years, so, got my wings really and fell in love with that gift of service. And I think hospitality just embodies that. It's making people happy and giving them a level of service that you would want yourself. I think, for me personally, for the business, we've never, and I use the royal we because there's me and obviously Anna, my lovely business partner, we've been advised many times to go further afield from hospitality, and we've never wanted to because we love it and we're really, really good at what we do. So
why would you?
I? Yeah.
So obviously cabin crew to now business owner, entrepreneur, you and Anna, you could say, kind of leading the way in your field. We're going to get that story in a bit because that's interesting in itself. And it is interesting. I've seen a photo recently of Lou. It was Britannia, wasn't it, that you worked for? In a cabin crew outfit. We'll talk about how you got from there to where you are now very soon. But basically, we want to get some advice, Louise. We want to find out how anyone listening right now can start right now. They can start this second to market their business. What are the top things you'd say? Because it is at your fingertips now, isn't it?
It is. I'd say where I would always start is identifying who your customers are, who your audience is, and thinking about how they are going to make a decision to look, buy, or be in your product. So once you identify that audience, it could be really broad, it could be really, really small audience, you kind of have to get into how they tick. I would say a really easy place to start would be social media. And there's many different platforms. So you've got your own professional network on LinkedIn, for instance. If you're not telling people what you do, your successes, sometimes warts and all, then what are you doing? We look at a platform like Instagram as a shop window. So in what we do and any service-led, be it a florist, gardener, restaurant, bar, if you're not showcasing the very best of your product on Instagram, where people would look and think, there was a study where Gen Z would go to Instagram before they went to Google. Not probably for the older generation, but that's what you're playing with. So you have to make sure it's represented in the best way possible on those platforms. I think it could be anything from looking at your signage. Does your signage tell people what you do? If you're a shop on the high street, have you got an A-board outside inviting people to come in? So I think about where that audience are going to access your product, service or brand and work backwards from there.
it's so big, isn't it, marketing, because it covers so many bases, especially nowadays. You've obviously got social media, which we'll delve more into, but you've got that kind of, that would you call it the first point of marketing, what your brand looks like, what your logo is, what your strapline is, signage, as you say there. It covers everything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to get your head around, isn't there?
There is. And, you know, again, there might be a difference between if you were, I don't know, an accessories store, let's for as an example. Are you a physical store? Are you an online store? Either way, those touch points need to give a customer journey of some description, and whether that be, you know, does the brand represent a luxury brand? Does it represent cheap? How is that going to come across to the end user? And if as a business owner, you're not reviewing that on a regular basis, then you're already failing at that point.
You mentioned before about identifying who you're talking to. Now, this is so important. So on the guide, we do a simple thing. So it's kind of a mood board, and it's our audience. So it's who we're talking to on social media. We did have it hanging up over there, Lou. I'll show you in a little bit. But it's basically about 20, 30 different little pictures of what our kind of top level audience might look like. So for us, it's probably a female who's around 32 years old, who likes to spend a bit of money every now and then on a boyfriend or husband or partner. She might have a child. She might love going out with the girls, love a bit of culture. And it's just pinpointing that particular person, so you know who you're talking to. So you've got to find what I'm saying is you've got to find that target, haven't you? You've got to find out who your audience, who your customer is going to be, and who you want it to be. Who
you want it to be, I think, is probably the best place to start. And it doesn't have to just be one. There could be 3 or 4. You know, you could have, again, if we talk about a restaurant, you know, you want that golden era, people who are retired, who are going to come in now. That they're not necessarily on TikTok or Instagram. How are we going to talk to them? What cars do they drive? Where do they shop? Where do they do the weekly shop? So all of those things matter when it comes to decision making and spend. And that's the same whether it's a bar, restaurant, shop, car showroom, whatever that is. It matters, and it's used across all forms of marketing, I would say.
So you want to talk to people really who've got a couple of, but they might not be minted, you know, people who are willing to spend money. Basically, that's the main kind of focus, isn't it?
Yeah, and you also have people who have that aspirational value to a brand, so they may not be able to afford it all of the time. They're not your bread and butter. They're not, you know, a lady who's maybe not the luxury of not having to work, who can go in and have 3 lunches a week in your restaurant or whatever it is. But you might have that one person who really, really wants to have that experience at some point, so we'll save and go in there. So everybody's important, but you're setting the tone of that experience, I think, from the get-go.
So you're kind of aiming high early on. If you were just setting up a business now, so someone's listening and they want to set up, I don't know, they are a carpenter. Is that the term for a carpet layer?
Yeah,
I think it's carpenter. If they were setting that up, what's the first thing you'd tell them to do?
I'd tell them to think about, you know, again, already my head is going a million miles an hour thinking, well, look at all these home accounts that people use. So you've got influencers there ready to sell your carpet for you. You've got somebody who you could show that lovely, beautiful home that you put the carpet down in. Look how gorgeous that looks. That's going to sell you more carpets, because that is a word of mouth recommendation. Even though technically it's online, that is seen as a word of mouth recommendation. So that's what I would do. It's positive customer experiences that would drive more business to that carpet fitters way.
So we picked the wrong example there, didn't we?
How unexciting.
Any carpet fitters listening right now, get in touch and let us know how you did it. But the same rules apply, don't they, for any business? That customer experience, you've got to get that right first off, so you've got something good to market. That's a big deal, isn't it? You need to get your product right before you do anything, I suppose.
You want to show quality, you want to show knowledge, why choose that person to fit your carpet? Because they know what they're doing and they're not going to mess it up, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So you want that experience that somebody else has had. I think builders are a really good example. Most builders don't market themselves because everybody passes on. It's like gold dust finding a great builder or a great plumber. People pass that name on as somebody they would personally recommend, and that's how they get ahead of the game. Now, we're moving into different territories now with builders where people see the big reveal of, a 100 grand refurb that they've done on the house. That's fascinating. They're not necessarily where you're going to get 20 leads from, but you're definitely going to secure an audience who are interested in your product.
Yeah, and you never know. If you've got 100 people visiting your Instagram page, for instance, one of them people in 6 months' time might get in touch and think, yeah, I remember him. He was really good. Yeah. So for a builder, it's about putting your work on Instagram or LinkedIn, letting people know the job, showcasing what you've done. Social media is just, we could talk all day about it. You mentioned LinkedIn. You touched on Instagram. Say I am opening a cafe and I want to launch myself and my brand on social media. Where do we start? Let's go in on each platform and kind of make our social media strategy from scratch.
I think undervalued, I would say, in that space is Google My Business. We inherit a lot of issues where somebody's had a go, it hasn't been set up correctly. People are naturally invited to leave a review. So for something like a neighbourhood cafe, start there. There's free workshops you can access on Google that would step by step and educate you on how to do it and what to put on there. You can update with your own imagery. Customers can leave imagery, they can leave reviews. You've got directions, you've got phone number, you've got a place to book. So that in itself is free. There's no money there, but it's often underutilized. I would say then moving on to the other social media platforms, Facebook, I think, would naturally target a bit more of a community. It's still really useful. It's still the number one used platform. And you do have opportunities, we're all members of our community groups where you can market yourself for free to a group of people in your community. And then I would always say Instagram first in terms of setting that tone, the beautiful imagery. We advise a lot of time to have the grid, the squares as your shop window, and then stories is a bit more throwaway content. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a stylized photo shoot. It just can be informative and what's happening that day. And then, save the grid for those really important brand messages.
I love that, because that you do try and do, even on your own stuff, you try and do that a little bit, don't you? You think, I've put it on my story, I should have put it on my grid, or the other way around.
Yeah.
But that is your shop window. And for a business, that's so important because it's the first thing people see.
Yeah, and again, looking at how this younger generation access information and influence decision making, Instagram is really still quite important in that. Again, I revert back to hospitality all the time because that's what I do. But, my children who are 18 and 21, they look at a full menu on Instagram and decide what they're going to eat before they go to a restaurant. That's how they use that. So if we're not putting that information on there, then you're going to lose some of that audience.
And we got to say as well, for anyone who is daunted by it, and I know people way younger than me and younger than the pair of us who are still kind of, I don't know how to do Instagram on a professional level. I can do it myself. And they get a little bit scared, a little bit worried. It is just so easy to set up an Instagram page, for instance, or a Facebook page. You want to set it up in business mode, don't you? So it's not a personal account, no matter what you're doing, because I think I did one for the guide and done it on a personal page. Yeah. And then obviously your followers, it just gets messy. Yeah. But it's basically what I'm trying to say is anyone can do it. Don't be put off by social media.
And all of those platforms, so Meta owns Facebook and Instagram, they offer free guides. So don't feel overwhelmed by thinking you don't know how to set something up because there's tools and tips there to help you every step of the way.
Okay. And what would you do content-wise? So say if we are that cafe, you want to do an Insta post on a Monday morning, you maybe want to put something on Facebook and something on LinkedIn. What would your strategy be for that Monday morning?
Well, I mean, your strategy, we're all creatures of habit. So Monday morning for me would be coffee, wouldn't it? You want to start your day in the right way. So what trade are you looking to have in? Who's around? The workers have gone to work. So it's maybe mums walking by with the babies, or it's somebody else. I don't know. So I'd start there and think, what would they like to see? What would you like to put out about your brand? How would you like people to absorb your brand that day? And again, in most things, marketing, there is a pattern. So it's always Valentine's Day. We've just had that. It's always going to be Easter. It's always going to be Mother's Day. So there's those key calendar points that you can work towards, even if you do nothing else. Christmas every year. So
yeah.
All of those things, if you don't do anything else all year, you can write your own strategy or plan, because I think people are often frightened by the word marketing strategy, but it's a plan of how you are going to put your brand out there and who is going to hear that message.
And it's important, isn't it? Because we mentioned Monday morning, knowing your audience, mums who are free. Mm-hmm. It's knowing your audience at specific times for social media, isn't it? So it's knowing when to hit them and what content will work best for those particular moments.
And I think, often what we have to get across to some of our clients is it's not a reactive point of sale. So if you put a club sandwich out at 11:45 on a Monday, you're not going to sell 50 that afternoon, because it just doesn't work like that. But you can start and plant that seed that actually next Monday I want to have that club sandwich, and maybe that's what I'm going to do when I'm off on Wednesday for my lunch. So it's not an immediate or a reactive point of sale, but you are telling people how they can enjoy your product or your brand.
Some little ideas I've listed just for if you are just starting up your socials. Food shots, if you're a hospitality business, so important, getting them right.
Yeah.
How do we capture food so well? We do it at the Guide every day, and it is hard to do. Mm-hmm. And we've seen the best tasting dishes and the best looking dishes captured terribly on social media.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get it wrong, isn't it? So what would you say for capturing food?
How to get it wrong in a nutshell would be to take pictures of food on a pass in the kitchen, because the lighting's absolutely terrible. Yeah. And I'd make sure it's just authentic. So have a knife and fork in the picture, because otherwise how else are you going to eat the food? Make sure the coffee's fresh. Make sure it's exactly how you would want that plate of food to arrive if you were going to eat it. Sometimes that is overlooked, let's say.
There's a lot of food bloggers and stuff out there now, and they do nail it in terms of getting the lighting right. Yeah. And you've got to, if you're working with a restaurant, you're launching a new menu, I presume you're going to get a food photographer and a specialist.
Yeah. So, we would tend to do that for a full menu shoot. So again, looking at that grid, that we'd make sure that there were absolutely beautiful professional pictures of that menu. On a day-to-day basis, people take pictures of their own food really beautifully. So we use user-generated content for that. Or, our own social team are really, really great at going in and capturing food and drink. So we just make sure it looks great at all times.
And I suppose just keep trying until you get that killer shot.
Yeah.
Just keep going for it. You mentioned something there, user-generated content, UGC. UGC, what is it? I can't get my words out at the minute. This is something that you hear a lot more of. Basically what it is what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Explain what user-generated content is.
It's somebody else's content where your product or service has been tagged. So I might take a picture of my steak dinner in a restaurant and tag the venue in. And once I do that, and, if I'm not a private account and everyone's happy, that can be reshared on their own platforms. And there's some great stuff, and a lot of influencers in that space would do a much better job than I would have taken a picture of myself sipping a cocktail in a restaurant. So I'd happily use this over my own.
But it's good as well because it adds weight to your business, to your brand, to your restaurant, to your carpet fitting company. It adds weight because it gives you kind of credit from somewhere else.
That's right.
And it gives you content as well, doesn't it?
It's fantastic, really, as a brand to have that. You're right. It's a nod. It's a recommendation. It's the new world of word of mouth marketing, which is still the strongest form of marketing. Somebody who has a really positive experience or interaction with a brand will tell many people. They will tell even more if it's not very good. But yeah. I think
don't share them ones.
No, don't
just leave them.
Don't tag
ones.
Anybody in it. And that's actually a really important thing. So people, other than Twitter, which is a very different space, people won't necessarily complain using Instagram. They may do on a Facebook page or something like that. That might be an interaction you would see. They would tend to direct message a brand on Instagram. And so you have that opportunity to pull it back and to get it right, even on those platforms. So, I sometimes the best outcomes can be from the poorest of starts when it comes to reviews or when it comes to an experience. And great operators and great business owners get it right all of the time.
And would they welcome negative reviews as well? Because I presume any review, if it's constructive, is good for your business. I always think it's really important if you do get served a cold meal, for instance, that you put your hand up and let them know, because they've got to know to get better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even you and I have had those conversations, haven't you? I've asked you to go and try something and you haven't had a great experience. I don't take offence to it because I'm not the one cooking the food, so it doesn't really offend me. But I always think I need to know so I can feed that back and make sure, communication is better or service is better. So yeah, it's a vital part of social media. It's a vital part of our experience. It's a true experience of that person, and if it's not right, then we need to listen.
Can you ever be too real on social media? Because it's all about authenticity, isn't it? And being real and being true to yourself, to your business. Obviously, you're going to take that a food shop, for instance, like we were saying, with a bit more like you want it to look as good as possible. But kind of, for business owners, for chefs, for anyone, is there a problem with over-delivering yourself and your business on socials?
I think the problem would be people get sick of seeing you or, sick of hearing it, really. I think anything like a chef, the end product is that plate of food. Never mind that something might have been maturing for 35 days or, that nobody really needs to see that part of it. I think a lot of undervalued content in that space might be the provenance of what goes onto that plate of food. So where are the products sourced from and that kind of thing. And that would be true anywhere. The carpet fitter, that he's using the best carpet. It's, a Turkish rug that is being imported in using the finest wool. So that provenance really matters, I think. And there is a point where that may be overshared because people would lose interest unless you're in a space where actually detail is everything. So DIY, for instance, step by step, people want to know how to get from A to B.
And what if you are, so I've always been a big believer, if you can hear noises behind us, by the way, we're recording this podcast over a pub and the barrels are just coming in outside. So if you can hear them, that's what it is. I've always been a big believer with social media to keep things positive and to keep things not necessarily light. You can still have an opinion, but I'm not one for like them indirect social media posts you see some people doing, which target somebody else, and you're like, what's that about? Or just being generally negative about certain situations. Yeah. I don't think you should use social media for that, certainly not in business.
No, agreed.
Am I wrong or am I right in that?
No, you're right. I think, there's certain times when, I don't know, if there was a big crisis, for instance, and to take responsibility for that as a business may be appropriate. It may not always be. But I've seen that done quite well on a couple of occasions where, again, just owning up and taking responsibility and letting people know how you're going to change it and why it won't happen again is super important. But yeah, I'd always try and take any negativity offline.
Yeah. What's the worst type of social media if you're a business? What's the worst thing that you've seen over the years? Or, you know, is it a terrible photo? Is it someone over-delivering on themselves? What is it?
Yeah, just poorly thought through, I think. Just, you know, where that'll do kind of attitude. I think there's lots of things where, you know, the experience in real life is much better than what you maybe see in advance. So you kind of there purely by luck, because it's not through the brand being put out there that you've made the decision to go in. And, you know, that can work. You may be in a beautiful boutique in a shop and, the quality of the goods on sale is fantastic. And yet the social media hasn't been posted on in 3 years. There's nothing to tell you. So why would you have gone? You just walk by. So that seems like a wasted opportunity for me.
And it is a waste because, again, it's free, isn't it? Apart from your time, it is free to do. One social media platform we've both avoided until now. We were talking about this off mic before. I still don't get it. I know the absolute massive value in it and the importance of it. TikTok.
Yes.
Where are we up to with TikTok? How important is it? Do we need to open TikTok accounts for our businesses?
I've not seen it. I've not seen it done and executed particularly well yet. But we are seeing the huge fashion brands are all on TikTok. So we are always in the space I work in. We're always about 5 years behind retail, and retailers are on it. So that's a sign to me that we need to be on there. TikTok at the moment, and again, I'm not the audience, but I've got children who are, and I see how they absorb media on that platform, and it's experience led. So if you've got an experience to offer, so if you're a restaurant and the welcome's great and the food is fantastic and the atmosphere is brilliant, that deserves to be on that platform. How we've used it as a business up till now is we have worked with TikTok influencers, somebody who has their own audience that you would want to tap into. But we are now, we've taken on a young girl, Molly, who has come on and joined our team to focus solely on TikTok, because that's the way it's going to go. And actually what it's done to us is it's allowed us to sit and brainstorm with her ideas for that experience-led content. We're lucky enough to work with the Lake House in Crosby, which is right on Crosby Marine. It's beautiful, and we're thinking already about, well, as soon as that sun comes out, what we're going to do. You know, you'd want to be there with a crisp glass of rosé in your hand. So all of those things we're feeding into Molly now, and she'll be working her way through that and working with the team at the Lake House to deliver that on the TikTok channel. So
should if you are that cafe owner, should you be thinking about TikTok?
Yeah. And
it's easy to do. It's easy to set up. It's just thinking about that content a little bit differently, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a growing platform, isn't it? And people are putting, it's trends, it's trending sounds, it's meme, it's all fun.
Yeah.
And there's some really great things to look at. I think I was telling you off mic before about, we were going on a city break and my daughter gave me 5 things to do I'd never have found in Florence. So, for that alone, I'm grateful for it.
And that was just her searching on TikTok, wasn't it?
Just searching.
Unreal.
Yeah.
We've done social media. We could talk all day about social media. Yeah. It's probably a podcast in itself. Website. Does every business need a website? Where do we start? What do we do? What would you say?
I mean, I'm going to say yes. I think we very much still need to have visibility on a website, and it helps with a number of things with SEO, with Google searches. I think what kind of annoys me a little bit about websites is how overcomplicated they can be and how difficult to use they can be, when actually, it's a very simple thing that the person wants that website for. A restaurant, for instance, you have to have a menu on there because people want to know what to eat. You need to know where it is, so you need a map or directions on how to get there, and you need a contact telephone number, and that's pretty much it. So it doesn't need to be, 27 pages long, or there just needs to be those reference points, really. So yes, you do need a website, but you need to constantly track that journey, because again, lots of businesses unfortunately still don't test websites on the mobiles before they test them on the desktop. That annoys me. I think you can forget what's actually important with a website, which is the user journey. We talk all the time about websites, retail websites in particular, that don't integrate with Apple Pay or Android Pay or Google Pay. And they've lost a sale because I can't even be bothered going to my bag to get my purse out.
Same.
So
since Apple Pay, that has changed so much. You just skip now, don't you?
So you are losing money
Yeah.
if you don't test that customer journey from every single direction. Sat on the phone watching telly overnight. That's where a lot of people would make those, fashion or off the cuff purchases. And if you haven't tested that journey or gone through it as that consumer, then it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time.
So websites, it's what you are, who you are, where you are, how to get in touch.
Yeah.
Obviously, restaurant things like menus, some decent photography.
Yeah, or a link to your social media.
Yeah. Booking a table, I presume.
Yeah.
There's plugins you can get for a website for a restaurant, where you can book that table, which for me is that important, because sometimes you just can't be bothered phoning, and sounds dead lazy, doesn't it? But what I mean.
People don't want to talk to people these days, and again, they're the main drivers of why people are on that platform.
Video. Now, obviously, at The Guide, we've got our own video production company.
Yes.
So I know the power of video. Mm-hmm. And I think any business, every business in every sector could lend itself to having a video made for them. Correct. That's like my little selling thing when I'm trying to sell. But it's true, isn't it? It's so important, because every social media platform now puts video top. Tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been a great advocate for video for many years, and obviously worked with you and your team on many different campaigns. You are selling an experience, and you're selling that to a number of people. Now, what's great about when we work with The Guide is we're then amplifying that to your audience as well. So not only is it great content and it's representative of what that experience would be, it's also reaching a brand new audience. And I would say that that's the same on lots of different social media platforms. If your video is good enough to be shared, people will share it for you and do the amplification for you.
And the thing is, with video, don't be put off because there's a million fantastic videographers out there. If you want a professional video putting together and you want someone to take it off their hands, and you can get a decent video for 200, 300, 400 quid.
Yeah.
But it is accessible, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
And it's same for photographers. If you want to book a proper photo shoot, it's not, you don't have to break the bank, do you?
No. And you have to, again, you have to do your product, service, or offering the service it deserves, really.
Yeah.
You want people to consume your media the way you want it. And the only way you're going to do that is by controlling that and being part of deciding what that looks like, whether that is still photography, video, iPhone photography, iPhone video, or whatever that is. Make sure that the end result is what you wanted in the first place.
Yeah. And the thing as well with video, you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to, we all see reels now, and TikToks are easy to make. If you've got the hand, you've got the knack, I'd say don't just throw something on social media, but you can put something together yourself.
Yeah.
Fairly easily.
It comes back to that deciding on what the message is and deciding on who the audience is, doesn't it? So if you want to tell people how fantastic your holiday was, then you're not going to put, awful pictures of yourself
No.
up there. You're going to take the best ones and you're going to go, didn't I look great on my holiday? And look at the food we ate and the walks we went on. So you're going to put that out there in the best possible light, and that's true in everything.
Influencers, Louise Kemp of 19 Agency. Where do we start? So influencers, obviously, influencer marketing is its own thing now, isn't it? It's so big and it's so important to many, many brands. You'll see huge brands like Nike working with influencers. you'll see small businesses, really small independent local businesses working with influencers. For me, there's a massive place for influencer marketing if you get it right. And there's some incredible influencer accounts and influencers out there who can deliver results for your business. Just tell us about this.
Yeah, and we work with lots of different influencers. Again, the purpose is so they come and experience one of the brands we work with and tell their audience who may also be looking for that kind of experience. I think for me, it's took its own path, influencer marketing. So this is now our word of mouth. So we might follow an influencer who looks great in, fashion. A fashion influencer, for instance, they're always looking great, or they'll have the latest Zara outfit on that we all might want to buy, and then it's sold out 20 minutes later. And we cross that over now to the lifestyle space. So we might say, well, we want her wearing that dress, but in our restaurant. And so it works because her audience now think that's a really aspirational place to go to. Wow. So, you've got to kind of see the bigger picture. There's also influencers that just simply wouldn't work for what we offer, and vice versa. So it's not just they've got loads of followers, let's invite them in. You want their audience are the important ones, and that's who is going to react to those posts. So it's hugely important, massive.
You mentioned them follower numbers. That is so important. And it never used to be this way. But if you're working with someone or you want to get something out of another platform, whether that's an influencer or not, or a celebrity, whatever it might be, they might have 1 million followers. That might mean nothing for you and your business. It doesn't matter how many followers someone's got. It's about the engagements. There's so much more to it. Yeah. So never do it that way. Obviously, you want a big follower number, but you could arguably get an influencer who's got 2,000 followers, and them 2,000 people are the exact right people that you want through your door for your business. It's choosing wisely, isn't it? Yeah,
and like you're saying, looking at the engagement and looking at the quality of content that influencer might put out, they're all super important things. A brand we opened years and years ago in Manchester was a really Instagrammable venue. It's been there for quite a few years now. And we launched that with influencer marketing. That was in its infancy, really. And it took off, and there was 35,000 followers on the account within a week and a half. It was brilliant. It was great. And then what happened was actually really funny, because you had influencers that didn't have the profile the other ones did, who wanted to be seen in the same place as those higher level influencers. So then it was just one big photo shoot for about a month and a half, where people were like, I want to be seen. So it kind of has that snowball effect with other people. Everyone's watching. And I think that's what's important about influencer marketing, is everyone's interested and everyone's watching.
Yeah, which is good, which is the beauty of social media, isn't it? Love or hate it, it does get the word out there.
Yeah.
Where do you start as a marketer? So if you are taking on a new client, what would be the first thing that you'd look for and try and do when you're putting that plan in place?
We tend to look for things that are really simple to implement with a good return. So email marketing, as an example. A lot of places have all of the systems set up and they're paying for them. They're just not using them. They're not communicating with their audience on a regular basis. For a company like ours, it's just gold dust. How we approach it is one more visit, and that's as simple as it gets. If everybody on that database can visit one more time from one email, then we're winning, and we're getting the spend in. So that's the return on investment that we would want.
How do you get that database though? So for anyone not knowing what email marketing, how do you do it? What would you do?
Various ways. So you can offer free Wi-Fi, and there's some tools out there that would take somebody's data and they would comply with GDPR, which is, the regulator that we need to take people's data. And they would sign up to the database to learn more. And from that, you can trigger what we call a customer journey. So at various touch points. So if you eat in a restaurant, you've made the booking, we can get data from that booking system. If you're a shop, you make an online purchase, we can get data from that purchase. So all of that feeds into a system, And that's where you can start to track the data. And it really is unbelievably powerful.
It really is so important. And again, it's a simple thing. On the guide, ours is pretty simple. We just have a pop-up that comes up whenever you log onto the website if you're a new user. And they're easy. They're free plugins that you can put in to the back end of your website. And it just captures that data. And people choose whether they want you to take that data or not, obviously. But yeah, the power of email marketing, it seems like an old-fashioned thing. It's still so powerful, isn't it?
Very much so. And like I say, if you are a restaurant or bar owner or hotelier and you can get one more visit off 10,000 people, that's a lot of visits.
Yeah.
That's a lot of data. Even if you get 100 visitors off that 10,000 people, then that's 100 more than you would get if you did nothing.
And again, the content within that, so it can be like an e-blast, a newsletter, just a kind of one-page ad. It's up to you, and you can play with that and make that what you want. We do like a weekly newsletter on the guide. We're a bit different, but
it's informative, isn't it? So it's information that you're putting out, then it's no different in any space, I wouldn't have thought. So if you're a carpet fitter, you might have information on a new range that you've got coming in. Or, if you're a gardener, this might be the perfect time of year to plant bulbs in your garden. So all of that information could eventually turn into a sale because that gardener could sell them the bulbs or come and do it for them. So you've got to kind of approach it as that one more touch point. And that's as simple as it can get, really.
So if you're doing all of this that we spoke of to get, all in one big package, the majority of what we spoke about is free to do. You can do it all for free. You're winning already, aren't you? With your new business, your new cafe, your new carpet fitting business, your new garden company, your new salon. Yeah. You're starting, you're marketing your business right.
That's right. And I think some downfalls can be that people don't give it the time when, it only becomes important once that influx of customers starts to dwindle off. So then there's a panic mode, and that's the wrong way to approach marketing once you're in panic, because it's a fight or fly mode then. So if you think about it strategically in advance, who they are, where you want them to come from, how you're going to get more of them, and what you're going to say to those people, you're going to be winning.
Okay, I love this. I feel like setting up a business myself.
Go for it.
Let's talk your business, 19 Agency. It's doing really well. As mentioned, clients include Gino de Campo, Australasia in Manchester, Hope Street Hotel, which is incredible. The list goes on in terms of your clients. How do you build that? How do you market yourselves to get more clients in and on your list?
Reputation and network, I think, is the two main things we have on our side. Anna and I worked together for many years at a big national restaurant group. So we already had a flying start because we had that reputation behind us, and that served us well. But I think, we've obviously grown the team now, and we deliver for our clients, and that leads to recommendations, and that's how we do it. I mean, we obviously have a website, we have our own social media, we all have our own LinkedIns. We're just redoing our website actually at the minute, because we think it's important to be as fresh as we're telling our clients to be. And ultimately, reputation and network, I think.
So you're a mum of three. You juggle running this company with alongside Anna. You've got a great team, a team of five. How do you do it? How do you juggle all of this? And obviously some of these jobs, a lot of these jobs, you've got to work late. You've got to work on nights and weekends and stuff. How do you juggle it all?
I love it. So it just doesn't really feel like work. It's kind of a natural ability, I think I've got to know that space. And again, going back to what we said at the beginning about not wanting to move out of that space of the hospitality lifestyle space, is because I get it, I understand it. So it doesn't feel like I'm juggling. It feels like this is just how I am. This is just my life.
And that's how you've worked on that, on becoming that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Presume it's not always been that easy.
No, and Anna and I started 19 in 2019 and walked straight into a global pandemic. So it definitely hasn't been an easy ride, but I think I felt that this journey was so right. We were kind of relentless about it, and we knew what we had to offer was unique. There's not many people. I think there are some, but there's not many people with our collective expertise and experience in the space we are. So we knew there's people that need our services, and we felt like this was too good an opportunity to just give up when the world shut down.
And it is, and it's worked. It's paid off 5 years later. We're going to finish, Louise Kemp of 19 Agency. Just two things. One more specifically to the type of marketing you do. One takeaway you give people, one bit of advice for anyone in hospitality, no matter what level they're at. What would you say to them about marketing their hospitality business?
What I would say is that shop window. We've talked about it today in detail, but I think if you cannot represent your brand in an online platform like that, then you're doing a disservice to everybody.
Love that. And then finally, just one piece of advice for anyone listening who wants to start their own business, who wants to become a marketeer, who wants to nail it in work or in business. What would you say?
Be agile. Move with whatever obstacles are put in your way and look for a way to get over them.
Louise Kemp, 19 Agency. You are nailing it. It's my little tagline now. I feel like a game show host. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.